So the doctor comes in and she was like, hey, so you have this giant fibroid. And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, you can't deliver naturally. And I kind of was like, what? And she's like, yeah, you're going to have to get a C-section. And right away I was like, nobody wants to get a C-section. I mean, some moms probably do, but I obviously wanted to try to have a natural delivery. And she was like, yeah, your fibroid is so big that it's blocking your cervix, and there's no way for your baby to come out naturally. So you're going to have to get a C-section. So then she said, also, your umbilical cord attached to the wrong place in your placenta. And so I was like, okay, can you show me? Like, what does that mean? And so she was like, well, basically, your your umbilical cord attached to the side of your placenta when it's supposed to attach to the middle of your placenta. There's a name for this, but I can't pronounce it, so I'm just going to put it on the screen. And that's pretty much all she said, and I at that time was like kind of shocked because I just found out about this giant fibroid that I have. I have to get a C-section. My umbilical cord didn't attach to the right place, so like I was shocked, and I didn't really know the questions to even ask her at that point because I didn't even know that these things were possible. So I just remember like asking her, does that mean I'm a high risk pregnancy? And she was like, oh, definitely. And she asked me if I wanted to switch to her care. And at that point, I was like, yes, I want to switch to your care right now because my OB, my other OB, or my only OB at that time, had misdiagnosed me with a miscarriage. She didn't tell me about this fibroid, and now I'm high risk, so I wanted a high risk doctor. So after asking her if I was high risk and her telling me yes, that definitely scared me because no mom wants to hear that you're a high risk pregnancy. That's like terrifying. So already I was like super scared. I asked her, like, is this gonna affect work? Like, am I gonna have to go out of work sooner? I honestly thought my SVT was going to be the biggest, like, hurdle that I was going to face while being pregnant. Just because it had been affecting me so much recently, and I was going to acupuncture, and my acupuncturist was letting me know that my hormones definitely affect my heart and my heart rate and my palpitations and all this stuff. So I thought my heart was going to be the only high risk thing that I was going to experience. But in fact, my heart hasn't given me too many problems. There's been a couple times where it's been worrisome, but the fibroid thing was shocking because I had no idea that this was a thing that happened to women, and much less during their pregnancy. So I asked her if this was going to affect my job, and she was like, yeah, you might have to stop working like sooner than you thought. So that was news to me. I, like I said, was worried about the baby, and the anatomy scan I know is a big ultrasound appointment, and my main thing was wanting him to be okay. Like, does he have any genetic conditions? Is he growing? Does everything look okay? Is my placenta working like it needs to be? Like, those were all the things that I was worried about. And come to find out, it was actually me who was having the problems. He was fine, she said. And I remember specifically asking her, but is the baby okay? And she said, yeah, for now. And that really scared me because, like I said, I didn't know what questions to ask because I had never heard of any of these things. So in my mind, I was like, what do you mean for now? Like, is he not going to be okay later? Especially because I have anxiety. So I already have that, like, impending doom and those, like, negative thoughts swirling around in my mind that I was trying to keep at bay. And now you're telling me I'm a high-risk pregnancy. I have this giant fibroid. And basically she told me because of the size of the fibroid, she was like, you're basically carrying twins. And I was just like, which was also surprising because my belly is not very big. Like, I'm a small person. Like, I'm only 5'1", so I'm little. And in the beginning, like, because of all the pregnancy bloat, like, people were like, oh, you look big. But now I'm 33 weeks, and at that time I was 20 weeks, and the kind of pregnancy bloat went away. And my belly is not that big. And she was explaining to me, like, you're basically pregnant with twins. And I'm like, I don't know how that's possible, because in the first trimester, I literally lost 12 pounds. Not because I had morning sickness, but I just had so many food aversions, and, like, I just couldn't eat. Like, I didn't want, everything smelled horrible. So I had lost so much weight, and I just didn't really even look like that pregnant. But then to find out, like, I have this giant fibroid the size of a grapefruit, and then I have this baby, was just, like, kind of astonishing to me that I'm this little and I don't weigh more. And then the other thing that she told me could be, like, I guess a downside of the fibroid is the fact that it kind of tricks your uterus into thinking that you're farther along than what you are. Because if you think about it, you have a baby growing and you have a fibroid going, so your uterus is already, like, everything's pretty squished. So she was, like, explaining to me that the fibroid can trick your body into thinking that you have a full-term baby inside of your belly, and start causing, like, contractions and cause you to go into labor early. So her biggest thing was that she did not want me to go into labor early and start having those contractions. So she was like, if you're feeling pain, which at that point I had been experiencing pain, she was like, the bigger that he gets, the more pain you might experience. And I really need you to, monitor that and let me know if it's getting to be too much. So I did, and for a few weeks, it was just kind of like every other day I would be, like, hurting a lot, and then it would get better, and I would use a heating pad for a little bit and, take it on and off because that's what the doctor said. I don't really like taking medicine, and I felt super weird about taking anything while pregnant, so I think I took Tylenol one time. And then I was like, I can't take Tylenol every single day for this pain. So I just would use the heating pad or just kind of, rest. And that's how I dealt with the pain. But it got to a certain point where this pain was happening every single day. It was affecting my work. I would be in pain all day long. Even turning in bed, laying in bed, I would be in pain. Driving. And then I started feeling pressure. And that's really when she was, like, okay, I think it's time that you stop working. And it was around this time that I got diagnosed with a few other things, which I'll make those videos as well. But her main concern was this fibroid, because she did not want me to start having contractions and go into early labor. So we made the decision, her and I, she asked me, like, sorry, I'm, like, out of breath. This is a pregnancy symptom that I've been experiencing now that he's being pushed up into my ribs. But she was like, I'm gonna leave it up to you. You tell me when you're ready. And at that point, I was in so much pain, that I was just like, in my mind, I was like, I want to keep going. I want to keep working. Like, I can do this, because that's the type of person that I am. I never quit at anything, and pregnancy has really taught me that a lot. Like, it's not about me anymore, it's about my baby, and if I'm not okay, he's not okay. And that's really when I started calling out of work when I didn't feel good, because I never would call out before. And so at that appointment, I was like, I need to stop now. Like, this, I can tell it's not good. I don't want to push myself anymore. And so she took me out of work around Christmas, like, the 23rd was the last day that I worked. And so since then I wouldn't say I'm on bed rest, because I'm not really on bed rest, but she does want me to rest, and so I'm not bedridden, but I do spend a lot of time sitting down or laying down, just because it still hurts. Like, even though I'm not actively working and lifting and all of this stuff, there's still days where it's painful, especially now because he's head down. And I actually just went to a ultrasound appointment last week because now I'm getting them every 2 weeks, and I get stress tests twice a week. And they also take ultrasounds there to measure my amniotic fluid because, as I mentioned in the last video, I was also diagnosed with the polyhydramnios. So they check my amniotic fluid at every appointment now. So they found out last week that he is head down, and his head is like right up against the fibroid. Like, and it looks like two heads, honestly. Like, it's like my fibroid and it's him, and they're like right next to each other. So I've been having more pain on my right side, and they said it's because he's kind of pushing his head into the fibroid. So that's where the pressure and the pain is coming from. As of right now, he's still not growth restricted, and we're praying that it stays that way. He weighed 4 pounds 3 ounces last week. And so basically we're taking it 1 week at a time. I do have a scheduled C-section for March 8th. But she did tell me last week that, the fibroid did grow again. This is actually the second time that it's grown since they found it at the 20-week anatomy scan. So it was about the size of a grapefruit the very first time that I found out about it. Or not the first time I found out about it, but the first time that we saw that it had grown at the anatomy scan, they had told us that it was the size of a grapefruit. And then I had went another time, like a month or two later, and it had grown a little bit more. And so they were like, it's a little bit bigger than a grapefruit. And then last week when I went, they're like, it grew again. It's a little bigger than a grapefruit. So I honestly am still in disbelief that there's this giant fibroid in here. So my baby's due date is March 14th. So already the scheduled C-section of March 8th was already a week ahead. She had mentioned that she wanted to get us to 39 weeks. So that's where the March 8th date had come from. But when I saw her last week, because the fibroid had grown again, and she said baby's getting bigger and things are getting more squished, that I may be delivering around 37 weeks. And when I first met her from the anatomy scan, she had said that I might deliver, he might come early, around 37 weeks. So in my mind, I've kind of been planning for him to come around 37 weeks, which is next month, in the middle of the month. It is flying by. I just turned 33 weeks. Today's Monday. What day is it? It's January 24th. So I'm 33 weeks today. So that means I am possibly having a baby in 4 weeks, which is insane. If you're still watching this video this far, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Bye!